So this light shines forward enough that you can get to this tire and see to air it up and hook it up. That's kind of nice. This one right here shines down. You can see to hook that one up. These two lights that shine off the side, I don't know, a little bit useless maybe, unless you're just trying to look at something way over there, but they are super bright. Go ahead and turn the back one on.
Blinded by the light.
So there's the back lights. It's kind of sweet. We just backed up to this table and those lights lit everything up. And as far as in here goes, the upper light right there lights up everything on this top shelf. This lower light that's right here, that I just bolted on the back of the rack there, lights up my controls there and everything kind of down on the bottom so I can see. This crappy Jeep light that's right there does nothing back here at all. Yep. And there's the front lower lights. And there's the front upper lights. Wow. All right. So here's the lower lights. Nice and bright. And the upper lights. If there's no dust, you know, following you guys down the canyon, there's a little bit of dust and so there's a little bit of reflection back sort of, you know, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't.
Yeah, because it's not lighting up the hood at all. So,
and I like that. I was worried that they'd be like shining way too high.
Right.
And they, in fact, turn the bottom ones off. Let's just see what that looks like. So you can't see right in front of you, but it really lights up the area around.
Yeah.
And pretty far ahead.
Yeah, pretty wide angle too.
Yeah. And in here, turn them all on. Let's just see what happens.
That's all of them, right? These three don't have
My
any.
battery's gonna go dead.
These three don't have
Correct.
any.
Yeah, I don't have anything on those yet. So now it does look like the disco ball. Light, bright Jeep. Of course, that name's already taken, but yeah, I do have a problem, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so we're gonna try this out. Got the tires hooked up here, and tires hooked up over there. Those two side lights right there on this roof rack shine ridiculously far out there. That's crazy. Look at that. It just lights up the whole thing. And that's just those two little lights. That's crazy. Okay, so that light's shining forward, and it definitely lights up that front tire enough that you can see the tire valve. This one right here, that shines straight down, lights up nicely there. So as far as wiring this roof rack goes, because I added some extra lights, I actually ended up using 4 power wires. So I could switch all the different lights separately if I wanted to. So there's a power wire for the the front lights, power wire for the right side, power wire for the left side, and power wire for the rear lights. Now, or each wire has 4 lights on it. And I just used a common ground wire and tied all the grounds into this one and brought it back here to this ground spot right here. Now, that's a 14 gauge, so that's pretty big wire, but I want to make sure there's plenty of ground wire for this case. Now, it's in wire loom right here. It drops down over here, and I just ran it straight down here. You can't see very well because of the lighting, but in front of the firewall back there, but behind the fender. So it dropped it straight down there behind the wheel, and I'll show you where that comes out down below. Okay, we're gonna get on the handy dandy lighted creeper, and it's DeWalt powered. There's a DeWalt battery right here, and we're gonna flip the switch on. Oh yeah, let's try it out. Okay, so the wire comes right down behind or in front of the firewall, but it's inside the fender, and it goes inside this isolator right here. That's the body mount. Comes around here, and I just use these little clips, insulated clips or padded clips, whatever. double wrapped the plastic wire loom here around this, and it's pretty snug. It shouldn't be bouncing up and down much. Now, I originally had run this inside of here, right along this, on top of this, and the plastic literally melted. The wire loom literally melted like away, and so I had to reroute it out here. So my wire's already run, and it comes along here, and I ran it behind this isolator. I think for a couple reasons. One, if I ran it right here, I'd still worry about, you can see how smashed this is, and these have had a hard life, and so they're going to get ripped off someday, and I'll put real rock sliders on. In any event, those rock sliders are going to go right about here, and so I wanted to kind of protect these as much as possible. So they just kind of wrap around that rubber isolator right behind there, and so they're nice and padded along there, but it is kind of a little wavy action, but they are tied in nice and tight away from the exhaust, okay? And that's the mistake I made, and because it had melted, not just up there, but it had melted back here somewhere, and I had to cut out the bad wire loom and splice them in. So then it comes around here. The next anchor point I have is right here, is these zip ties on the fuel hose filler. And so it just kind of lays up there along the fuel line or a brake line or whatever that is. I guess it's a brake line. And but it's far away from the exhaust, which is good. I'll zip tie it along here, over there on top of the gas tank, and over there it goes into that bulkhead that goes through the bottom of the tub. I'll show you that here. Now this is definitely gonna be hard to see, but basically I'll show you where I drilled my hole, and that is right up here. Of course, this is the passenger side rear fender well area, and you can see, if the camera will fit up here, there's the edge of the fender well right there, but inside here, there's the bulkhead and there's the wire that goes up through the bulkhead. But basically what we're paying attention to is those rivets. There's a big rivet there, and there's a big rivet over there. And so just pay attention if you're going to drill it in the same spot where those two rivets are and those plates, because you don't want to end up drilling from the top and hitting those rivet plates. Okay, just coming into the back of the Jeep here. Right over here in the corner is the bulkhead. Well, it's not technically a bulkhead. This is just a piece of threaded PVC that I used a collar on the other side, you know. And so right here, you can see where it's located though. This bolt right here is the seat belt hold down. This is the seat mount right here. And this is just right up against the fender well. And so I just drilled out a hole with a hole saw, screwed this down through it, and then screwed it on my cap, or my nut on the other side, my PVC nut, and then coated it with silicone or something, and then ran the wires up through, dumped some silicone down in there as well. So one wire goes to my compressor, the other wire goes to my lights, and the third wire is the ground from the compressor that goes down to the frame. Okay, and then that wire comes up for the lights, comes around the roll bar there, and kind of goes up the roll bar here. It's zip tied there, and goes up through there. And you can see that that's just a plumbing part from Ace Hardware. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was a threaded flange that had a nut on the back side. So I drilled a hole just so that would drop through. And let me tell you, that was the most anxiety producing thing I've done to this Jeep, is drill a hole in it. Of course, it's on the roof. Nobody's probably ever going to see it except for me, but it was still super anxiety producing. So, but it's done now. And of course I siliconed it all on top just to make sure it wouldn't leak. And then as far as the wiring goes here, you can see there's a wire that comes off here. Now, one of those red wires that comes from the Auxbeam fuse box is the rear lights, right? And so part of those rear lights is these lights right here. And I ran a wire, I tapped into that rear light wire and ran it around here, and it looks really tacky, I know. But I didn't really know how else to stabilize without putting more holes in the top. And then this is the light right here that kind of lights up this whole upper area. That's great. It's super bright. That Jeep light right there is useless as far as anything back here goes. Even when this rack wasn't here, it was just almost useless. And then there's a second light that I brought off the same rear light wire, but down lower, and I ran that wire around here, behind here, and ran it to this light. So when I hit the rear lights, not only did the two lights on the roof rack come up that are on the back, but these two lights come on as well. So I have 4 lights that come on back here. And this is super sweet, because this, even though this is right here and this kind of blocks some of the light, it still lights up everything inside of here. It's pretty sweet. Okay, so up comes the wire through here, and you can see how tacky this looks, but I just caked this on here because I didn't want it to leak, and it's nice and solid. There's water's not going to get down inside there. This is the 5-way 16 gauge quick connector, and obviously the rack is off of it. It's actually out there on the ground. We went on a search and rescue mission last weekend, and had to take the roof rack off just because it makes it so top heavy for the obstacles we're driving. So this was easy. You know, it was 4 bolts on each side, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bolts over there, and then just unplug this, and then we just lifted it off. And it was kind of heavy. So we got the roof rack off the Jeep. It's over here. It's just sitting on top of this old tractor bucket. What we're going to do is check the amperage on all these lights. So these 4 lights over here, that one, this one are all on one circuit. Same thing on that side. There's these 4 lights that came on the rack. Those are all tied together. I have 4 lights in the back. There's just 2 on the rack. The other 2 are still in the back of the Jeep. And all I did was plug in another pigtail that I had extra, and so you can see here I have the ground connected right there, and then the hot wire connected to one of the wires. We got to figure out which one that is because I don't remember which one it is as far as colors go. And we'll connect the battery there. It's not the back ones, it's not the side ones, it's these over here. Okay, so those 2, that one, and then this one. Okay. So all 4 of those, let's see how many amps they're pulling. And that's showing 5 amps for all 4 of those lights. Okay, so we can assume that these lights on the same, these are the exact same lights on this side. Those are going to pull the same. Let's switch this over to a different one here. And that one looks like it's the front ones there. Let's just go look here. And all 4 of those are lit up. That's good. Let's see how many amps those front lights are pulling, because these front lights came with the rack, and they're pulling right about 5 amps as well, 4.95, so that's 5 amps. Okay, now we'll switch this over, and so this is just 2 lights, so this should just be a couple of amps or so. Yeah, 1.85, 0.9 amps each for these little lights right here. For all 4 of these lights in the back, when I have the other 2 in the Jeep connected, that's 3.6 amps, so still under 5 amps. All right, so these side lights, these are the ones that came on the rack. These are the ones I added. These ones that I added are 1.8 amps. We know that because there's 2 along the back there. So 5 amps for this side minus 1.8 is roughly just over 3 amps for these 2 lights. So for the factory lights, if you're thinking about wiring these separately, you're going to be pulling about 3 amps just to power these 2.